Hello, my mathematicians. Today we are looking at Module 14, Lesson 3, which is all about assessing reasonableness of sums and differences. Hopefully by the end of the lesson, you'll be able to use benchmarks or rounding to check the reasonableness of decimal sums and differences. So we start with the spark you're learning. It says Mr. Gilbert downloads 2 files onto his computer. The table shows the sizes of the 2 files. He says that he downloads about 2 megabytes of data. Is Mr. Gilbert's statement reasonable? Justify your answer using a visual model. Well, if I make a number line, and we're going to start with 0, and we're going to go to 3. So we'd have 1, 2. We can even, if we want, do a little dash, split it in half. So if we plot a file 1, it's going to be somewhere around here. So 1 and 27 hundredths is there. And then file 2 is going to be somewhere in here. So if we're estimating this, we're going to say the 1 and 27 hundredths is going to be closest to 1. So 1 and 27 hundredths is about 1. 1 and 79 hundredths is about, well, it's closer to the 2 than the 1, so it's about 2. Then we would add them together. 1 plus 2 equals 3. So it would not be reasonable. Mr. Gilbert's statement is not reasonable. He downloads about 3 megabytes, not 2 megabytes. Okay, so build understanding. The table shows the sizes of 2 different video files. Miss Lee says that she uses 2200 gigabyte more for video file A than for video file B, and that she uses a total of 9600 gigabyte for both video files. So it says locate points on the number line to show the size of each video file. Well, for video file A, we have about 74 hundredths. So that's just going to go right about here. I'm going to mark that as A. And then video file B is about 5200 gigabytes, so it's going to be right about here. So it says, which benchmarks on the number line can you use to estimate the size of each video file, and how do you know? Well, if we look, our benchmarks are right here, so we would use those two. So we're going to have 50 hundredths and 75 hundredths. Video A is closest to 75 hundredths, and video B is closest to 50 hundredths. Is Miss Lee's statement that she uses 22 gigabytes more for video file A than for video file B reasonable? Explain how you know. Well, if we would look, so if we subtract 75 minus 50, 5 minus 0 is 5, 7 minus 5 is 2, and then we get 0. So yes, that's reasonable. Yes, because our estimate is 25 hundredths gigabyte, and 22 hundredths gigabyte is close to that. And then it says, is Miss Lee's statement that she uses a total of 96 hundredths gigabyte for both videos reasonable? Explain how you know. Well, so now we would add the two. So 5 plus 0 is 5, 7 plus 5 is 12. So we get 1/2500, so that's kind of far away. So we're going to say no, because our estimate is 1 in 25 hundredths gigabyte, and 9600 gigabyte is not close to that. So next we go to the step it out. It says the table shows a cellular phone provider's monthly charges for voice and data services. What is the difference in cost of voice and data services? Mr. Sanchez says the difference is 23 and 23 hundredths. Is his answer reasonable? So A says estimate the difference in cost by rounding each cost to the nearest $10. Write the equivalent, or write an equation to support your answer. Well, this to the nearest $10 would be $10, because it's closer to $10 than $20. I need to do the distance, so that's going to be the smaller one. This we have between 30 and 30 and 40, and so it's going to be closer to $40 because it's almost, because the 5 tells us to bump up that tens place, so we're going to have 40. So 40 minus 10 equals 30. So it's going to be about $30. Then it says estimate the difference in cost by rounding each cost to the nearest dollar. Write an equation to support your answer. So we'll start with our larger one. This 9 tells us that this 5 needs to be bumped up, so it is closer to $36 than $35. And this 7 tells us the same thing, that we need to bump up the 2, so it's closer to $13 than to $12. And 36 minus 13 will give me 23. So about $23. And is Mr. Sanchez's answer reasonable? How do you know? Yes, because $23.23 is between $23 and $30. And that is all for today's lesson. Hopefully, you're now able to use benchmarks or rounding to check the reasonableness of decimal sums and differences. And remember, in order to be a math person, I have to be as a person and do math.